Okay, so in the part 2 of the project, we are supposed to implement a user registration and login interface so that only a registered user can log in into the system. For that, we had to create a web page, and a user must be able to enter the username and password, and he should be able to click this login button. For that, we created a login JSP page wherein we wrote username and password inside the form, and we wrote the type as text for username and password so that he's able to enter the values. He's able to enter the values. So let's check. Sean as 1 2 3 4. After logging in, you should get a message, you are successfully logged in if the credentials are correct. So we have created a button called login, and the type is submit so that the button is clickable. Next is form action is equal to login process.jsp. Inside login process.jsp, we have created an object bean of login bean class. So in login bean class, we have used getters and setter methods. So getters and setters are basically used for returning value or setting a value. We've used getters and setters for username and password. Then next we have called the validate method of login DAO class. In login DAO class, we see that we have executed a query, select username and password from user, where username taken from the web page and the password taken from the web page is matched with the username and password that is there in the database. So inside the try, we've written prepared statements, and we have established a connection. Connection established is a class where the connection is being established between the Java application and the MySQL database. So the driver connection URL, username and password are being defined in the provider.java class. So in interface, so we've given the details here, and then we've used it in connection established.java class. Then in login DAO class, we have used the prepared statement and stored the results as in the username and password that were entered by the user in the web page were compared with those username and passwords from the database. If they matched, then the results were stored in the results set, and hence we used rs.next. So if there were any results in the results set, the status was returned. So in login process.jsp, you can see that if status is equal to true, out.println, you are successfully logged in. So if the results match, that is the username and password from the web page matched with that of the username and password from in the database, then you'll get a message, you are successfully logged in. Otherwise, you'll get incorrect credentials. The next part which we had to do is registration. In registration, you can see that you had to enter first name, last name, email, gender, age, username and password. So upon clicking register, these values are supposed to be inserted inside in the database. So again, in login.jsp, we created a sign up button and sign up link. So the URL of this JSP page was given here. So registration.jsp, we have created a JSP page for registration. So for first name, last name, email, gender, age, username and password, we gave the type as text, and on click this dot value, so that on clicking those, we are able to insert the values. Then we have created a button called register, and the type is submit. So as we can see, login.jsp, registration.jsp, we have given the form action as process.jsp. Inside process.jsp, we can see that again similar to that of login, bean.login bean for getters and setters, and bean.login DAO. In login DAO, we have created a method called insert. So insert into values, we have executed a query for inserting the values. So these values are taken from the user, that is the values being entered by the user, and then we've again used prepare statement for inputting those values, and execute update for updating the database, and return true. If true is returned, then you should get this message, you are successful, otherwise incorrect credentials.